So like the first thing I'd like to talk about is, so WordPress powers 30% of the web now.
Yeah.
Yet in the description for your talk, you say WordPress has fallen behind.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
What it means is that the whole user experience standards have changed, and design plays a big role in that. But WordPress has been largely technology-led, and because of it, the experience has fallen behind. So when Matt invited me to come in, he asked, how do we improve the experience across the WordPress ecosystem? And I realized it's a hard thing. That's why I like hard problems.
Yeah. There's a lack of inclusion in tech, and that's why you've come on board in Automattic. But to what degree are algorithms and data sets to blame for this lack of inclusion?
Oh, well, all the research shows now that machine intelligence, which requires large data sets to power neural networks, are flawed because all of our data is biased. For example, in the United States, there's a company that sells what's called a pre-crime software that predicts where crime is going to be.
Okay.
But crime is predicted to happen in neighborhoods that are poor.
Yeah.
But you'll never predict crime to happen in a rich neighborhood. So there's biases in that data.
Yeah. What are the benefits of inclusive design for businesses?
Well, I believe it just makes them more profitable. Like today I was talking to someone who was a podcast based in Germany, and he asked me this question, and he's a plugin author for WordPress.
Okay.
And he said, well, how can it help me? How can inclusive design help improve my business? And I told him, well, one of the largest growing sectors of customers is older people because of the boomer generation, post-World War II. So if you design your plugins so the type size is larger, it's better for older people. And so you can increase your market base. Simple things like that.
Yeah. And what can designers and also design leaders do to help make products and services more inclusive?
Well, that's why I've been recruiting a lot of people from around the world to participate in this broadening of the WordPress world. One is Ashley Axios, who worked for Barack Obama when he was president. I just announced we're hiring Alexis Lloyd, who led the New York Times R&D division. So they're all people who bring in new kinds of thinking, and I believe over time we'll see an impact on the software.
What kind of skills does a web designer need now and need in the future, and how can they prepare for it?
Wow. Well, I used to read your previous stuff, and I got caught up on CSS and every possible standard, and I think the problem right now is we always look for a technical solution to what is a human problem. And so the trick for designers today is to be with people who are not like themselves, people who don't work remotely, people who don't have a mobile. And by working with them, we can make products for a broader group of people.
And yes, in your talk, you mentioned a concept that I hadn't heard before, deep design. What's deep design, and what does it mean? Yeah,
well, I've been looking for a term to describe the problem, and the problem is we live in a world of shallow design, where we finish the technology and we spray on the design, color, type, smell. And this kind of design is only useful if the technology is unique. If the technology is unique, people are buying the technology, not how it feels. But because all the technology is all the same across the board, how it feels matters much more. So deep design involves understanding the problem and also understanding how it's solving the problem. Whereas most of design is focused on making. People love making when they're in design or development.
Yes. And you said a lot of designers also like shipping. Everyone is super focused on shipping and probably putting too much effort into that stage.
Yeah, well, look at how we went from waterfall to agile. And agile is about these fast cycles, and it's iterative, and so you're always shipping. But the problem with always shipping is you assume that you have, you know how mathematics works with like a local maximum and a global maximum? If you start in the local area, you'll never go to the global. And right now, when we stay on the shipping planet, we focus on one maximum and never can go to the global maximum. We can only go there if we understand people's problems. But we quickly stop working on people's problems. we quickly work on the shipping problem only.
And you joined Automattic as global head of computational design and inclusion.
Yeah.
What made you focus on inclusion?
Well, I came to the realization that the software industry was making solutions that are for technically minded people who tended to be gender men. Because, let me give an example. So, like the modern commenting systems, they have your face and they have your name, and it's assumed that that's a good idea. And if you tend to be a man and you comment on things, it's great. But it turns out that all the data shows that if you're a woman with a woman face and a woman name and you comment, the way you're reacted to is different than the same man. And so it says intrinsically the systems are designed to be better for men than for women. And it's a flaw. And how do we change that will only happen if we participate with everyone thinking about the software and how it's designed.
And how does your role look in practice? I mean, what does a typical day look like? I think you go out to people a lot. Just interviewed Harch earlier, and he's very much also, going to the people.
Yeah, most of my day is talking to people, people who maybe haven't discovered technology yet, and to understand what they need. They often don't need a website. They often don't need a domain. They have a problem, and the problem, part of it may include some kind of web service, some kind of technology service. And so by creating a narrative of the whole person and sharing that inside the company, it's beginning to change the emphasis to the customer. And my intent is to open source this for the whole WordPress ecosystem, because the WordPress ecosystem is having the same problem, because the customers are changing. They're not the same customer they were 5 years ago for a website. They need something else.
I'm quite fascinated by how Automattic works as well, because you're completely distributed, which is amazing for a company of that size. How does that make a company more inclusive?
Oh, well, first of all, it makes it much more geographically inclusive. So a normal technology company, at least based in the United States originally, would have to be in Silicon Valley and maybe New York, but mainly Silicon Valley. But the neat thing about Automattic is we're spread across 60 countries. So we are inclusive globally. We can recruit anyone from anywhere around the world. Like recently, I just recruited a designer from Tokyo. He was one of the top designers in Tokyo. And if our company was in one place, I could never have done that. I could never have hired her.
And how do you do that? How do you spread the possibilities of remote work? Because a lot of people may not be aware that these possibilities exist.
I use this thing called blogging. I talk about it, and it gets heard.
Yeah, excellent. And you put together these amazing data and tech reports. With this year's report, were there any findings that you were surprised about?
Yeah, I think the biggest finding I was surprised about is how far artificial intelligence has come. Because in the 80s, when I was an undergraduate at MIT, I used to work in the artificial intelligence lab. And I remember, no one thought it could do what it does today, and now it does.
What are you most excited about the future of WordPress?
I'm excited about the community. I've heard that over time it's gotten much more diverse. There are more women in the WordPress community. It's inherently internationally diverse. And I believe that as the community gets more diverse, more designers come in. As you know, many designers cannot code. They're looking for a way to learn how to code. So I imagine as more designers come in, as more kinds of people come in, WordPress will improve radically because it has a different kind of DNA.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.